I don't know why this is behaving. Ow. Yeah, that's part of the problem right there. Got the pen stuck in my hair. Let's do this. Okay, so thinking about going forward, I think I'm debating on how I'm going to proceed from now on if I want to do some of the things that I've done before. So, like, previously, I would read a book, watch a movie. Like, I could read a book, watch a movie, play a game. I'd give a review of that, and then I'd break it down for ideas and inspirations to go further. Usually doing 6 of each. So, thinking about it from the perspective of like reading, say, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles novelization or something like that, or watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, I'd watch it and then I'd review it. And then I'd give 6 ideas that I came up with inspired by that. And I feel like maybe where I want to go with this instead is a split those two things apart. So I can do a short, which would be essentially the review. It would be a thumbnail of what the thing we're going to review is, a basically 60-second time period to give it a rating and review, and then end of story. Next round out is the question that I need to address, and that is, how do I do the creative prompts inspired by anymore? And I feel like I don't feel like I can do them as 60-second creative prompts. Could I? It just feels wrong. That's not the point of doing a creative prompt, is to do something fast and easy. I feel like I almost want to do something a little more along the lines of what we did when I took ideas like pop culture and broke them down and came up with new ideas inspired by them, but not do 6 of them in one episode. So it would be sort of along the lines of a maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most, where I would just, all right, so here we go, inspired by the review that we did at the start of the week for this book, this movie, this game, whatever. Here's my idea of what we can do with it. And just that one idea. So, like when we did ideas inspired by Stargate SG-1. Okay, that's today's episode. And it's going to be less of me brainstorming it out for 45 minutes or however long some of those took before, and more of, here's what I came up with during the week that I've been, playing with this in my head. And I might do more than one, but they would be separate episodes that I would upload. I think that's the way I want to go forward with it. Because I feel like that's a better it's a better consumable and better referenceable inventory of ideas. I will have to think about how to title, and well, I guess I'm going to have to use the description a lot more. So more detailed descriptions. because like the Three Raven Sisters, like how that was inspired by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but Three Raven Sisters as a title, I don't know. It doesn't tell you where it came from, and it doesn't tell you how we got there. So I feel like that the answer to that would probably be to do a video called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles inspiration prompts, or prompts inspired by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, something like that. And that would be number one. Maybe then follow it up with Raven Sisters. I feel like that's probably the better way to make a searchable index of ideas. And I may go back over my older ones and just review that stuff and tear it down and do a couple of trial runs of seeing if I can consolidate that down into a better format. Now, I may not do 6 for everything that I do. So if I watch a movie or play a board game or whatever, I may not come up with 6 of them. So what I'm thinking is, like, I still have the books, movies, games, like tabletop games, products, music, art, video games, and food. Those are like the 8 categories that I can use. There's pretty much just the standard 4.3 weeks in a month. I don't know that I'm going to cycle through them in any particular pattern, but I feel like I could probably do like come up with some ideas inspired by the thing I'm doing. So I'd do a review on, say, Monday, and then ideas inspired by it for Wednesday. Excuse me. All right, ideas inspired by it by Wednesday. An idea inspired by it on Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday or Thursday. I'm not sure I want to do every day for that, but maybe it's something I could do. But if I only come up with 2 ideas or 1 idea for that project that week, then I can switch on to the next idea of things to explore. So I could do a review of a book, an idea inspired by it, an idea inspired by it, a movie, an idea inspired by the movie, a board game, 3 ideas for games inspired by that game, something along those lines. I don't even necessarily have to do those in those particular order. I could do a book, 2 ideas inspired by it, a movie, an idea inspired by the movie, another book, idea inspired by the book, a movie, 2 ideas inspired by, like, I could do it in that format. And so it's a little less rigidly structured and gives me a little bit of the leeway to explore whatever fits my fancy at that time. And if at the end of the year of doing this, we hit a point where I realize, like, I hardly ever cover these 2 topics or these 3 or 4 topics, then I may just trim them. But I don't know. I feel like taste tests are something I got a backlog of that I can still up post. And I'm thinking of how I'm going to potentially change the format I do those with. So, like, looking at, some of those taste tests, I can do short ones, but like 60-second ones, I don't know. I guess that I gave a couple tries to a few taste tests in the last few days, trying to keep it to a minute or less, and I never successfully achieved a minute or less in a recording, but only by a few seconds being off. Now, in my mind, there's probably space that I can trim or edit to make a cleaner 1 minute short review of taste tests. I suppose it's something I can look into doing. I feel like those in particular are ones that don't require as much feedback because there's no story to them. Either they taste like they're supposed to taste, or I don't care for the taste, and then I should be able to move on. And the format for the ideas inspired by it, I mean, that's a little bit more wishy-washy. I feel like I don't know that I'm going to do a lot of ideas inspired by those things, except in the sense of like maybe at another point I can do a kind of, here's a recipe I tried inspired by this one back then. Because like I don't have the time right now, and I'm not in a position right now where, like, if I do a taste test video upload, like I have a bunch of the taste tests that I've done that like I could just upload the taste test as an edited video, rate and review the food that I'm trying, and just post it and move on. And then at a point further down the line, maybe I try an idea inspired by that taste test. So it wouldn't be in line with when I, read the book. I read a book, and then afterwards would be ideas inspired by this book. Taste test would be more like taste tested an item. Maybe a few weeks later, maybe a month later, maybe several months later, I'm like, okay, referring back to this video where I taste tested these, this is what I think we should be able to do with this, and show off something that I did. So, like, for example, the idea of M&M's came out with a s'more M&M years ago. I taste tested that, and I was moderately disappointed by it because it doesn't have any marshmallow in it. In my mind, the proper way to make a s'more M&M would be to take a little piece of marshmallow, a mini marshmallow, cut off a little disc of it, coat it in chocolate, dust it in graham cracker crumbs, and then finish off the shell so that you have a s'more bite. There's no reason why we couldn't do that. So that's my mindset on how you should do a s'more M&M. Now, I haven't made one yet, but I think it's achievable. So there's a part of me that thinks, like, I should be able to, in the next 4 months, get a bag of mini marshmallows, chocolate dip them, while they're still sort of sticky, dust them with powdered graham cracker crust, let it set up, and then see if I can give a sugar coat to the outside to give it a shell. And then from there, hop on here, show off what I made, and give an honest opinion of whether or not I think the idea that was inspired by it met my expectations better, and then just move on. But that takes a little bit more time, at least in the situation that I'm in right now. If I were doing YouTube full time and nothing else going on in my life, I could do a taste test at the start of the week, then spend 2 or 3 days during the course of the week coming up with recipes that I can tweak and do in a different way, edit those up as a review of what I made and how I did it, and then post those. Like if I were doing YouTube full time and that was my career, I could totally do something like that. I can't do that right now. Not where my life is right now. So taste tests, I think, are probably going to be like more segmented and separated from each other. Books, movies. I don't know that I will do a lot of music, but I might do a piece every now and then. I feel like what I'll probably end up doing most is books, movies, maybe computer games, probably board games. Every now and then I can see maybe doing a product or service. So like some of the stuff that I ordered from Amazon, that's like the cheapest green screen and the cheapest selfie station, I think it was the other one, and see if they're useful in making setups for doing video production and whatnot. Like that's a product review. That's something I can do. But I'm not ordering something every 3 weeks or once a month that I feel like is worth doing a review for. I feel like maybe a few times a year I will do product and service reviews. Probably in the run up to a gift giving holiday, essentially. So I think that's probably more what like we're coming up on Easter, and I still have a whole bunch of those videos of taste tests that I did last year before the pandemic really hit full force and just derailed everything. So my taste test videos for Easter, I did them sort of like I did the candy canes during Christmas time, so that I did 12 days of Christmas taste tests. I have Easter taste tests that I can do in a similar frame. I feel like I could probably do something similar for product and services leading up to specific holidays or gift giving occasions. So I feel like Black Friday, Christmas season, like I can't think of what other holiday or time period would be the right one for product or service reviews. I'll have to really sit and think of it, unless you have some recommendations that I can consider. But like my birthday is not a national holiday, so nobody else is gift giving on my birthday. But I mean, that's something I could potentially do, is birthday gift shopping. Maybe further break down categories past product and services and do. See, I'm not like a. There's some channels out there. There's like I can't even think of a person because I don't watch this kind of stuff. But isn't it like at around the Oscars, everybody's talking about the fashion people were wearing on the red carpet or something like that? Like, would you do a product review of clothing and fashion design on a certain period? Like, it's not my thing, but maybe I could do one as a joke. I could have a lot of fun. Although, now that I think about it, if you really wanted to have some real fun with that, Halloween costumes, you could do Black Friday deals, Christmas gifts, school supplies for back to school, summer break. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be something. Valentine's Day. Yeah, there you go. How that one just missed my brain. Valentine's Day, yeah. Mother's Day, Father's Day. There you go. I should write this down because I'm not going to remember it the next time we have this conversation. That's my brain fart going off. So let's pull back and do okay, so reviews of products and services and services. Okay, so we've got Valentine's Day is the first one I can think of. Mother's Day. Because I don't know that Easter. I mean, that's more of a taste test because that's candy. Easter candy is the only thing I really think of when I think of Easter. Mother's Day. I mean, other than the obvious, it's a holy day. So Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, 4th of July, not really a gift-giving holiday. I'll have to think about it. But then, do we do back to school? I don't know if that's like school supplies, maybe. I don't know. But Halloween costumes. See, the other thing I was thinking about with costumes, and that the reason it came up in my mind was I was thinking a few times around the year there's certain conventions that go on, like Gen Con and Dragon Con, and you got a lot of cosplayers. And there's a part of me that's sort of like, could we review cosplay stuff? I don't know. VidCon, you could do a review of video production stuff, but I mean that's not something everybody else does. So Halloween costumes, Black Friday, and Christmas. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, definitely 6 possibilities throughout the year. So that might be good enough. I may not have to do that. Do anything else other than that. Man, I'm sounding like I'm hoarse tonight, don't I? So that's for products and services. Video games, I feel like I kind of want to review the games that individuals make. So like I would go on RPG Maker and download a game that somebody made and made for sale, try it out and review it. I feel like I want to do a little bit more of that than I necessarily want to go out and buy a game and review it. Because at that point, it becomes more of a product review in that sense. But I mean, the other thing I liked about when I started planning to do the video games, I think I only did 1 or 2, was checking out the old school ones that most people have forgotten existed. But I mean, I'm not going to do a playthrough of them. I imagine I'll probably do the format of doing the 60-second review followed by ideas inspired by it. And I think the other reason I find that kind of thing potentially useful here is it's sort of like I can set it up so that, in the coming week, I'm going to try and watch such and such a movie. Say in the next week, I'll watch Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie. I can set that up as this is what I'm going to do. I can then give you a spoiler-free review in 60 seconds. I can tell you what I think of it when I watch it, and then end. And then subsequent to that, I can maybe go into 5-10 minute videos where I break it into its pieces and use it to make a new movie or book idea or some other creative idea without having to worry about getting into spoilers by tearing apart the pieces of that movie and talking about them. So I feel like that works for a lot of story-based stuff. Now, I feel like board games is going to be one of the other ones that's a little harder. So like books, review the book, then come up with ideas inspired by the book. Comic books are probably something I'm going to include in that category. So graphic novels, like a Watchmen or something like that, where I check out some graphic novel compilation and then review it. That's books. Movies are pretty straightforward. Give a quick review, your thoughts on it, and then cut. And then the next round out is things you liked and how you could use them in new and interesting ways for creative prompts. And then board games are going to be the next hard one. Product and services, I think we covered with the ideas we got there as sort of a purchase recommendation thing. Taste tests, we also kind of discussed it. Music, I think music is going to be hard. Art is going to be something I might enjoy a whole lot more. I may sort of split the two from each other because right now I've clumped them together as art and music, and I feel like I did that largely because I didn't think I was going to do a lot of individual artworks. And my tendency when I did artworks was to cluster them in a group of 3. And I feel like if we go with the format of checking out an artwork or an artist's work, reviewing, and then ideas it gives me for doing some of my own artworks, that could be something a little bit more along the lines of what we just did in February, where I did a creative project for every letter of the alphabet during the month of February. Like I made the wooden rings, I made the salt dough ornaments, I etched glass, those kinds of ideas for things that I could do. Like I feel like that's something I could potentially play with more, where I could do a review of some piece of artwork that made me think and I thought was interesting. And then subsequent to that, the inspiration prompts inspired by it, I could try to do an art project during that week. Music is going to be harder because I am not a musician by trade. I don't really have much in the way of skill with music, which is making this month's project a little bit harder for me to do. But in that vein, it may be something that I just don't do very often. And is this something more along the lines of the product reviews or the taste tests that we do differently? Would this be reacting to a music video rather than a specific rate and prompts inspired by? I feel like reactions to music videos might be something that's viable for me to explore music, but I think in truth, unless we have something like the product and service idea for it, like are there specific musical times of year where that would be a viable thing. Maybe music awards. There are music awards, and I guess there are movie ones as well, right? So review the ones up for awards. The ones up for, and I guess like Oscars are also sort of something I could do that for. And do I do it in the week leading up to, or do I do it to the week of, or the week after for finding the winners and reviewing their stuff? I could do it for movies too. And so we've got books. I mean, we could do it for like the Nebula Awards for book writing. But I mean, that one's less award event focused. That's something I would do anyway. If you gave me the option to make a living reviewing books like Siskel and Ebert reviewed movies, I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. Um, but and I would probably do it similar to similar for board games too. I don't know that there's like board games are trickier than the rest of them in a certain way. Um, like they're like a book in the sense that there isn't like a necessarily a big event that people equate to. It's not like, I mean, you can kind of do it for Christmas. Um, like gift giving holidays, like buying a board game for a board game lover in your family for Christmas. But uh, that's that's not really what I'm trying to do there. My interest in board games is finding old, unusual ones, probably that you can't get in print anymore, playing them, finding out some things that we used to do in games that we don't do anymore, and finding other ways to use them and new ways to make new games that don't exist yet. Like, that's half the fun for me. And I don't know. I do think it would be hilarious to try to give a 60-second how the rules work. Like a picture of the board game, the pieces, maybe a few illustrative edited motions of the pieces doing things, and just like run through the rules like bang, 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 bang. See if you can get it out in a minute, and then boom, that's your short. And I mean, if you do that, you do not have that time to really review it. So that one may be a little bit more like less reviewing it. It may literally be like a review. No, like I can't figure out what's the right way, what's the right sequence to do it in. I feel like what you need to do is let's check out this game, 60-second rule review. Bang out the rules in that 1 60-second short. Then a review of gameplay as, was it good? What did you like? What didn't you like? such and such as a second short video, and then see, I don't even know that that's the right way to do the second video for that. I feel like for board games in particular, the format to go forward with would be, it'd be fun. I think it would be fun to do the rules in a minute. And then another video where we do a sort of review that's going to be longer. It's like a long form review. And then following that, like house rules or ways you can make a game similar or change things about the game to make it more interesting as the ideas inspired by it. Or would it just be out and out more like the food taste tests, where you do the quick review of rules, the long form review with sort of a breakdown of everything, and then a third one would be a little bit more along the lines of, okay, here's my hand-drawn board with my handmade pieces to do a different game that uses some of these mechanisms. I think that's probably what I'm more in favor of doing. Just because, like, to me, that's what I want to do with a board game. Like, I'm less interested in I don't want to watch somebody play the game for half an hour to 45 minutes, really. And I'm less interested in where to buy the newest game. Like, I don't need somebody hopping on for 5 seconds and saying, you should buy this game. That's not really my thing. But for like the record of, see, I might even just skip the short review on the board game. I may literally just do the long form reviews for board games. Sort of like a top down review the pieces. I do think the rules in a minute are definitely worth seeing if you can do. Like, a good game should be able to communicate in a minute what's the goal, what are the actions you take per turn, and how do you decide who's the winner? How many players are there? How long does the game take? Bang, 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 bang. You should be able to lay it out on the table like that in a heartbeat. If it takes 5 minutes to explain your game, there are a lot of people who aren't going to go forward with that game. So I do think that board games, I think I want to do 1 minute rules and a more in-depth analysis. And then maybe sort of like the food, it would be a while between that and when I actually have like a play testable demo piece, colored pencil on paper with coins with stickers on them, So, I mean, in some cases, they're going to just be reskins of that game. Like, you take a game like Monopoly and you swap out the idea of currency for um, political factions and votes or something like that. You can change the game out into some science fiction Dune like political negotiation and conflict. And, that would be just a reskin. You just change the pieces to look different and have different names, but the mechanics as they function during gameplay would be very similar. And some of them will be full-on reboots, like taking a single rule and going like, okay, if I chunk this rule into some other completely free-form fabrication of a game, or say, take a game like Chutes and Ladders and take a rule from um, uh, Trivial Pursuit or something like that, and you just chunk that into Chutes and Ladders, give it a sci-fi theme, and boom, it's a new game. Some of them might be that. Some of them literally may be a remake of Monopoly or chess or something like that. But I do think that's probably the way I would probably want to do the board games from here on out. So that's books, movies, music, board games, products and services, taste tests. Not really sure what we're doing for video games. And probably for the artworks, it's going to be like, here's this artist or artwork that I saw. Let's see what we can do like this, or, inspired by this artist, what can we do? I think that one, the format for that is probably going to be a review of the art and artist, 60-second review. And see, that seems harsh. I'm not really big on the reviewing other artists. I'm unlikely to put up an artist that I don't care for. And that's the trick with art. Is like, I'm not going to show you somebody else's art just to tear it down. That's not me. I don't do that. So there's a part of me is like, how would I do that? Would I do that like 60-second review? I mean, at that point, I feel like it would have to be more of a 60-second love letter. Like, you show me an artwork by an artist, or I show you an artwork by an artist I'm amazed or fascinated by. And I tell you why I love that. And that's the review. Then I can do the inspired by, give it a go, have a play at it. And I feel like that's probably the best way to go forward with that. After I do something like that, I think the other thing to keep in mind is what I need to do is freshen up those playlists for each of those categories. And then when I do them, I need to string them together with the cards at the end. So basically, like, I might even go back and just close out the old playlists, because I don't want people backtracking too far and getting a different format and being confused as to what they're doing. So I may close a lot of those out, or redo some of the ideas that I generated from those in the past, and at any rate, set them up so that it's a playlist of. Can you do sub playlists? Because I feel like that's the way to go. But I mean, 60-second review playlist, and then the creative prompts inspired by books playlist. Like, it feels like it's not quite right, but I do know that the end cards can be the thing that leads you to the next part of the piece. And I do think you can put enough end cards on that if I come up with 2 or 3 ideas for each thing that I review, I can put like 3 different prompts inspired by this work at the end of every video, maybe even 4. And then oh, that's so weird. Like, do I do creative prompts inspired by playlist for other 60-second reviews for books? So you could do like a book review playlist, writing. Well, that's the thing, is most of what I'm going to come up with for creative prompts for a lot of stuff is going to be writing based prompts. So when I watch a movie, they're going to be story prompts. They're not going to be like how to make this effect in a movie or anything like that. Although some of that would be fun to do at some point too. But it's likely to be, board games might be a little bit different. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to have to revamp the entirety of my YouTube channel to make some of this fit. And how are we doing video games? I guess that just purchase indie game creators' content, give it a playthrough. I don't know. That sort of falls into the category of the artwork thing, where I'm not likely to bash somebody who created something that I don't care for. And I kind of want to review games that I used to play that I can't play anymore. Like, I would love to do some playthrough of the old Gold Box, Forgotten Realms RPG games. I would love to be able to do Escape Velocity. Like, these are games that I loved, and they're 20 or 30 years old at this point. And the people who produce them are no longer in business. And some of them have had their rights sold to somebody else. I do think it would be kind of interesting to do a sort of a playthrough of some of them. But I don't know. That's one of those things where, like, I'd like to do a watch through of movies too. I'd love to do Views Day Night again, Tuesday Views Day. But I don't know that I have the technique down for it. I feel like that's a little bit more of a, when you are ready to do it full time, that's when you do it. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think about that a little bit. I mean, you're a gamer, so what do you think about, like, what would be an interesting way to explore games in your mind? Like, I may take a little bit of inspiration from what you're saying and just bend it in a whole new direction. But like, there's a part of me that feels like there's got to be a way to look at games that hasn't really been done yet, or if it's been done, nobody's found it yet. Somebody's out there doing this all by themselves, and you know, you know, doing a review of games in a very different way. That's not a playthrough, but not just a rating. There have been a few times where I entertain the notion, specifically of dealing with games for Nintendo, because Nintendo's a bit of a bear about this. They'll slap anybody down for even showing anything from any of their games. And so people who do playthroughs don't do a lot of Nintendo stuff because there's a lot of work to be done to make sure any of that can ever see the light of day. And I have briefly entertained the notion of taking games like that and tweaking them. So, like, if you were to take Mario Brothers, the original Mario Brothers video game, and you were to make your own cartoon character and redo all of the artwork and redo all of the music and make a different game out of it and review that different game, like, I have briefly entertained that notion. That's a butt ton of work, but it could be a lot of fun. And I feel like if it's going to be something that's a lot of work, I may only do a few per year. But if I do a few of them per year, it could give me the time to put that work in. And I feel like there's got to be, like, are there gaming event, like, sort of like the music awards or the movie awards, like the Oscars? Is there something similar to like that? A couple of them that happen around the year, 2 or 3 that happen around the year. And during that lead up to that, during the course of the year, somebody who comes into the store where I work regularly, he and I have talked as he goes through the store about game design using RPG Maker and stuff like that. And one of the things he said to me the other day, because I was talking about the idea that RPG Maker is good for making role-playing games. I've seen some people bend it to make first-person shooters or side-scrollers or platformer games. I've seen some people bend it a little, but it always is a little glitchy because it doesn't work quite right that way. But in my head, I was thinking about, like, could I do some interesting things with doing some of that similar bending? And I was mentioning to him the difficulty of getting it to getting a way to do something like RPG Maker for platformer games. And he said, have you tried ROM hacking? And I do briefly recall looking into that at one point, but maybe I should look into it again. And so maybe that's something to do, is just, oh, for God's sake. Why is my pen not working half the time? There we go. So let me just pull up ROM hacking and see if I can review it for a second. And get a sense for ROM hacking is the process of modifying a ROM image or ROM file of a video game to alter the game's graphics, dialogue, levels, gameplay, and other elements. So this literally sounds like making an entirely different game using. It's sort of like reskinning Monopoly to be, a local geography game. Like, it sounds like you're doing the same thing. I think I might play with a little bit of ROM. So video games might be fun to do. ROM hacking in. So I could do ROM hacking for some game reviews. I could do. So ROM hacking would be a way to review games that I can't review. Or do playthroughs of games I can't do playthroughs of. I could do like sort of like with the artworks, I could do some of those kinds of things for indie game developers. So somebody creates a game, I can purchase it through an app store or something like that, or on RPG Maker's website or something like that, and I can review the game. The games that I find are interesting, I can give like a review of why I like them. I don't think I'll ever do this is the worst game ever and this is why I think that. I don't think I have it in me to be that way. But I could do like my top pick that I found this year or something like that, and alternate that with some ROM hacking. And I suppose if there's like there's video game awards, right? The Game Awards is an annual award ceremony honoring achievements in video game industry. So maybe just the ones that are up for awards give a kind of a review of, or a rating of, or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I have to think about it a little bit more, but I think we're almost at an hour anyway. I think we did pretty good with breakdown of some of this stuff. I will give it some more thoughts, and I think today is Thursday, so Sunday I'll probably have a better sense of where we're going with this, and I will recap some of this stuff and maybe discuss a few other projects. But I think it's good to cut it here, especially since my digestive system's starting to make screaming noises at me. So I will catch you later. So clone reviews. I don't know that it'd be quite a clone, but yeah, the ROM hacking I think is probably something I could look into. I will see how practical it is in the next few days as I figure out some of this a little bit more. But until then, I'm going to say thanks for joining me tonight. And take care. And have a good night. I'm going to see if that comes out making sense because I'm not very good at typing on the fly. Yep, it worked. All right, catch you later. Stay safe, stay sane.